Alright, starting out to the cities, 100% charge. It's at 238 estimated range and full battery. At 25% of the battery used or 75% full, 4 miles per kilowatt hour, we've gone 60 miles. And it's saying we've used 15.2 kilowatt hours at 75%. So we'll keep track of that. Alright, it just ticked to 50% of the battery left, 125 miles driven. And we've used 30.3 kilowatt hours. The air conditioning says it's used 4% of the amount used so far. So we turned, because the GM air conditioning really can cool you out of your car. So we have it at 73 degrees, but at auto, so I had to turn the fan speed down just to 1 and stuff, and it's still plenty cool in here, I think. Anyways, and the rate that it's using the juice went down. It was using 6% with it on auto, and now it's only using 4%. So that's pretty good. Anyways, we'll keep going. Check in at 25%. So we drove down to Mall of America. So we're gonna see what's going on here, and then we'll head back and continue the test. Alright, and here we are. Little old Bolt. So we're taking this thing home. See how far we can get. Alright, got navigation set, 123 estimated miles. We're going to go to, see if we can go to a Tesla Supercharger 97 miles away. But we do have a bailout. So, and we've gone 135 miles. We are just under the halfway mark. We're actually at the halfway mark, so 50%. Off we go. Heading through the cities and stuff, doing 75 just to try and stay with and just a little bit faster than traffic so we don't get backed up if we can help it. So it's using up the kilowatts, so we'll see it's going to not give us as much of a buffer, but keep going. The gauge just dropped to 25%, so 63 miles. We've gone 188.6, so like 189 miles. It's used 45.5 kilowatt hours, at least all on these calculations. And we have 44 miles left to the Supercharger and 62 miles estimated, so we should be able to still make that 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty good at 65. We're doing 75 in the city, so and this is the entire trip average for 90 miles. So we're passing the chargers there in Malacca. So we're passing our last opportunity to ditch. So we got 40 miles of range left and only 22 miles left to go, so we can do it. Alright, right at 21 miles, like normal, it's stating charge vehicle soon, and it's done that the last few times. So we know that's about when I'd like you to start charging. I wonder what the voltage in the battery is at that time. We've got 4.8 miles to go. We've gone 227.8, so 228 miles. So that'd be 229, 240 49-mile estimated range. We'll see what the amount remaining is when we get there. Alright, pulling into KC's in Onamia that has the Tesla Superchargers here. So used up 56.4 kilowatt hours. Says we've got 16 miles of range left. We've gone 232.5 miles. So see here, get up here. Is it close? Alright, so put it in park. Alright, so 16 miles of range left, so there would be 248.5 miles of estimated range. So that's pretty consistent with the last time that I did a range test. We did 240 miles and it said it had 240.5 miles and it said we had 7 miles of range left. So I would say it's pretty spot on. This here, I don't know how accurate that is, 56.4 kilowatt hours used and stuff. So, but anyways, all right, we'll start charging. All right, we made it home. So I'm just gonna run out the battery here. Says it's low, it's flashing. On the app, it says there's 2% of the battery left and 5 miles. So, currently at 65.8 kilowatt hours used, but we did add 5.5 kilowatt hours at the Tesla station. So I'm gonna keep track of that. And then I am going to fill this battery back up overnight after I drain it out. All right, the app is stating 1% of the battery is left, or 2 miles. Bad omen number there. Kilowatts used minus 12.5, say. And the bar is no longer flashing. So it is at 0% here, 1% on the app. From the 67 kilowatt hours used minus the 5 that was added, so it'd be like 62 kilowatt hours used. The app is stating 0% battery, 0 range. But it's drill driving on this back road just fine so far and stuff. And I am 1.2 miles from home right now, so I'll turn around and start heading back that way. But everything feels copacetic still. All right, so we did run it down to 0, and I've got the contingency. I'm not sure if that's using 2 kilowatts and charging at the same time with 2 kilowatts. Hard to say. Anyways, so we're using the Nexus 3000, and it is charging level 1. So I've got it plugged in. Level 1 charger. And we'll see how much charge we'll get. All right, we added some power with the Nexus, the EGO Nexus 3000 with the EGO batteries, just as a backup. Wants me to buckle up, but just gonna go up this little hill. No problem, still on 0, but just need to add a little bit of power to get home. So, we'll plug in when we get there. Alright, the EGO stuff, I charge all the EGO batteries off of solar. So, kind of nice, I was able to use the sun to get back home. So it didn't use any other energy but sun power, basically, to drive home, so I can actually charge using other means, probably coal. All right, based off of today's usage, for the trip it used 67 kilowatt hours total. 5 of that was added at the Tesla Supercharger in Onamia. 5.5, but say 0.5 is just lost to charging. So 62 kilowatt hours used from full to empty. So for total capacity, say if it was a 66 kilowatt hour battery and 62 kilowatt hours was able to be used out of it, that would be 94% or 6% degradation. Or if you look at just its usable capacity of 65 originally and 62 was able to be used out of it, and you'd be looking at roughly 95.4% of usable capacity or 4.6% degradation. All right, charged up. So saying 250 miles, charge complete. Yeah, all right, took about 7 hours to complete the charge. It did take in 64.5 or a little bit more kilowatt hours charging up. But last night I did add probably 1 or 2 kilowatt hours with the EGO Nexus, adding electricity to the battery. So again, probably about 66 kilowatt hours put in, which is basically the same as last time. Well, it was like 66.35, 34, somewhere in there. So we're still putting in, or at least it's taking full capacity. Excuse me. And it used, what did we calculate it? It was able to use about 62 kilowatt hours based on what the car's energy info screen stated. So if that's accurate, people are saying, oh, you got to go by that. I guess, maybe, if it's accurate. So if it's not accurate, then, you know, but the only difference is this was, like I said, it's able to take, 66 kilowatt hours in, but there's a discrepancy of 4 kilowatt hours then that seems to be missing. So anyways, well, that's pretty much the conclusion for this third range test, battery capacity test.